on the Buddha's prophecy. Composed by the Shramana Nichiren. The seventh volume of the Lotus Sutra states, after I have passed into extinction, in the last 500-year period, you must spread it abroad widely throughout Jambudvipa and never allow it to be cut off. On the one hand, it is deplorable to me that more than 2,220 years have already passed since the Buddha's demise. What evil karma prevented me from being born in his lifetime? Why could not I have seen the four ranks of sages in the former day of the law, or Tiantai and Dinryu in the middle day of the law? On the other hand, I rejoice at whatever good fortune enabled me to be born in the last 500-year period and to read these true words of the sutra. Even if I had been born in the Buddha's lifetime, it would have served no purpose, for those who embraced the four flavors of teachings had not yet heard of the Lotus Sutra. Again, my being born in either the former or the middle day of the law would have been meaningless, for neither the scholars of the 3 schools of the South or the 7 schools of the North, in China, nor those of the Flower Garland, True Word, or any other schools, believed in the Lotus Sutra. The great teacher Tiantai states, in the last 500-year period the mystic way will spread and benefit humankind far into the future. Does this not describe the time of wide propagation? The great teacher Dinryu says, the former and middle days are almost over, and the latter day is near at hand. These words reveal how much he longed for the beginning of the latter day of the law. If we consider the rewards of living in the different ages, it is clear that mine surpass those of Nagarjuna and Vasubandhu, and excel those of Tiantai and Dinryu. Question: You are not the only person living in this last 500-year period. Why are you in particular so overjoyed to be living now? Answer: The 4th volume of the Lotus Sutra reads, since hatred and jealousy toward this sutra abound even when the thus come one is in the world, how much more will this be so after his passing? The great teacher Tiantai states, it will be much worse in the future because the principles of the Lotus Sutra are so hard to teach. The great teacher Miao Lo explains, the purpose of the phrase the principles are so hard to teach is to let us know how hard it is to enable people to understand these principles. The Dharma teacher Chitu states, it is said that good medicine tastes bitter. This sutra, which is like good medicine, dispels attachments to the 5 vehicles and establishes the one ultimate principle. It reproaches those in the ranks of ordinary beings and censures those in the ranks of sagehood, denies provisional Mahayana and refutes Hinayana. That is why all these types of people try to make hindrances for a practitioner of the Lotus Sutra. The great teacher Dinryu states, speaking of the age, the propagation of the true teaching will begin in the age when the middle day of the law ends and the latter day opens. Regarding the land, it will begin in a land to the east of Tang and to the west of Katsu. As for the people, it will spread among people stained by the 5 impurities who live in a time of conflict. The sutra says, since hatred and jealousy toward this sutra abound even when the thus come one is in the world, how much more will this be so after his passing? There is good reason for this statement. The great teacher Dinryu seems to be describing his own day, but actually he is referring to our present time. His words the former and middle days are almost over, and the latter day is near at hand have just such a meaning. The sutra states, evil devils, the devil's people, heavenly beings, dragons, yakshas, kumbhanda demons, and others will seize the advantage. Another part of the sutra details these others, whether it be a yakshu, or a rakshasa, or a hungry spirit, or a putana, or a kritya, or a vtada, or a skanda, or an amaraka, or an apasmaraka, or a yakshur kritya, or a human kritya. These passages explain that those who in previous lifetimes embraced the 4 flavors and 3 teachings, non-Buddhist teachings, or doctrines concerning the realms of human and heavenly beings appear in this life as devils, or heavenly or human beings who persecute the votary of the true and perfect teaching when they see or hear of him. Question: In comparing the former and middle days with the latter day of the law, the first two were far superior in terms of both time and the people's capacity. Why are these factors of time and capacity ignored in the Lotus Sutra, which refers exclusively to this age? Answer: the Buddha's intent is difficult to fathom. Indeed, I am unable to grasp it. We may attempt to understand, however, by taking the Hinayana Sutras as a point of reference. During the 1,000 years of the former day of the law, Hinayana was fully endowed with the three elements of teaching, practice, and proof. During the 1,000 years of the middle day, teaching and practice alone remained. Proof no longer existed. In the latter day of the law, teaching alone remains. Neither practice nor proof exists. On examining this from the standpoint of the Lotus Sutra, we find that in the 1,000 years of the former day of the law, persons who possessed all three had most probably formed ties with the Lotus Sutra during the Buddha's lifetime. They were born again in the former day and were able to obtain the proof of Hinayana through its teaching and practice. Those born in the middle day had not developed strong ties to the Lotus Sutra during the Buddha's lifetime and were therefore unable to attain proof through Hinayana. They turned instead to provisional Mahayana and thus were able to be born in the pure lands of the 10 directions. In the latter day of the law, no benefit is derived from either Mahayana or Hinayana. Hinayana retains nothing but its teaching. It has neither practice nor proof. Mahayana still has its teaching and practice, but no longer provides any proof of benefit either conspicuous or inconspicuous. Furthermore, the schools of Hinayana and provisional Mahayana established during the former and middle days of the law cling all the more stubbornly to their doctrines as they enter the latter day. Those who espouse Hinayana reject Mahayana, and those who espouse provisional teachings attack the true teaching, until the country is overrun with slanderers of the law. Those who fall into the evil paths because of their mistaken practice of Buddhism, outnumber the dust particles of the land, while those who attain the Buddha way by practicing the correct teaching, are fewer than the specks of dirt that can be placed on a fingernail. At such a time, the heavenly gods and benevolent deities abandon the country, and only perverse heavenly beings and perverse demons remain, possessing the minds and bodies of the ruler, his subjects, monks and nuns, and causing them to curse, revile, and heap shame on the votary of the Lotus Sutra. If, however, in the time after the Buddha's passing, a person renounces his attachments to the 4 flavors and 3 teachings, and converts to faith in the Lotus Sutra, that is true Mahayana, the heavenly gods and benevolent deities, as well as the bodhisattvas numerous as the dust particles of 1,000 worlds who emerged from beneath the ground, will protect him as the votary of the Lotus Sutra. Under their protection, he will establish and spread abroad widely throughout Jambudvipa the object of devotion of the essential teaching, or the 5 characters of Myoho Renge-kyo. It was the same with Bodhisattva never disparaging, who lived in the middle day of the law of the Buddha Awesome Sound King. He propagated widely throughout his land the teaching of 24 characters that begins with, "I have profound reverence for you," and was attacked with sticks of wood by the whole population. The 24 characters of never disparaging and the 5 characters of Nichiren are different in wording, but accord with the same principle. The end of the Buddha Awesome Sound King's middle day and the beginning of this latter day of the law are exactly the same in method of conversion. Bodhisattva never disparaging was a practitioner at the initial stage of rejoicing, while Nichiren is an ordinary practitioner at the stage of hearing the name and words of the truth. Question: how can you be certain that you are the votary of the Lotus Sutra prophesied to appear at the beginning of the latter day of the law? Answer: the Lotus Sutra states, since hatred and jealousy toward this sutra abound even when the thus come one is in the world, how much more will this be so after his passing? Another passage reads, there will be many ignorant people who will curse and speak ill of us and will attack us with swords and staves. A third passage says,